Yo! Yayo Talk Show!
Dreamin'! Don't give it up, Molly.
Dreamin'!
Don't give it up, Marco.
Dreamin'!
Don't give it up, Kdin.
Dreamin'!
Al's name didn't fit. They talk about the show, this group of four friends been going for 1,000,000 years, there's no end. Watching every arc and saga, no sleep. It's the king of anime, 1,000 episodes deep. Yayo Talk Show! Talking about One Piece. It's the name of the podcast. We're not on Vine. Yayo Talk Show. Talking about One Piece.
We're coming into 2024 as a fucking complete squad.
A fucking unit.
I can't believe it.
Speaking of unit, let's talk about Garp. What's up, wenches, privateers, and non-binary buccaneers? Welcome aboard the most live-action One Piece podcast on the Grand Linternet.
It's not Los Angeles?
Audio medium. Damn it.
Wait.
But-
So wait.
LA
For the inevitable video episode of this, do we replace our PNG tubers with cutouts of us?
I don't want that kind
pictures
of
of us?
pressure. Well, no, because then we need costumes. Stares at audience. But before we get into the show, let's introduce you to the crew, ladies and gentlemen. She's been waiting for this for quite some time. It's the captain of the Crew No Pirates, Molly D. Simpy.
It's the Garp time. It's the Garp episode, but not just the Garp episode, the Garp and Zeph episode.
We're starting to collect a lot of Garp episodes.
Garpception.
I mean, will they outnumber the Buggy episodes? Who knows?
No.
The person who just got to the table, Wild Theorist Kdin Jensen.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I finished the live action One Piece series this afternoon. I'm the
Proud of
last one to
you.
watch it. Well, I wasn't going to watch it like way back when. I'm going to forget everything unless I remember.
No one
Which
can
is
be
only
sure.
sometimes.
And our all-the-time Laughborg, Al
That's
McClellan Jr. I was like, how do I flip this? That's
It's only
him.
some of the time. Let's be real.
No, absolutely not. Al, you're like literally the one who gets everybody to laugh the most.
Yeah,
And that's your
I might
cue
go
audience
to a
to go
coughing fit
back.
today.
Everybody now has to go back and count how many times each of us laugh at each other's jokes to see who actually does it.
No, then you'll take away a question for a future game show. And I'm the internet's gentleman, Mark B. Donica. The B, of course, stands for Bonesman. But you know what? For today, since we're pre-Bonesman, let's go Brave Boy. The B stands for Brave Boy.
Ooh, brave boy.
The Brave Boy.
He's a big brave boy.
Such a brave boy.
Such a brave boy.
Twiddles finger. I'm a brave boy. So if you haven't been able to
Cross
tell,
the street all by yourself.
I crossed the streams all by myself. Today we're going to be talking about Netflix's One Piece live action adaptation of the original series.
Or
And
opera.
It's going to be we're not going to do an episode breakdown. We're not going to go thing by thing. We're going to kind of just give general thoughts. And if you would want us to go into more detail on certain things, let us know on social media. We're Yayo Talk Show everywhere, or you can tell us live on stream on Twitch, etc., etc. So it's going to be really informal discussion back and forth. And I think, this was a long time coming. Everybody waited with anticipation. And Kdin, hold on. For the
I'm not
most
saying
part,
nothing.
for the most part, I feel like the reaction for this has been more positive than most other live action anime adaptations.
This might be the most positively received live action adaptation of an anime, I think.
Yeah, it might be, and that's just me saying it from not seeing a lot of the other ones and knowing that they exist.
Remembering the live action Dragon Ball.
Oh, definitely better
That's
than
not. That doesn't count. That's not an adaptation of
happened.
anything. No, it's not an
real.
There's a difference between an adaptation and a straight up murder. Okay, there's a
Al.
difference. Okay.
I have a follow-up for your joke. Can we get much whiter?
Oh, God.
Because Goku's white.
Jesus.
I feel like a lot of the stuff with the One Piece live action was a real attempt of, I think, splitting the difference and getting people interested in the world. we did a casting special that was way too ambitious. And
I don't know about that.
It was. We picked a lot of
Hey, opening narrator
We spent that
opening
budget real fast.
opening narrator for the entire series, Tai Lung from Kung Fu Panda. Come on.
or Ian McShane as he's more widely known.
Whatever. I know him as Tai Lung. Okay. I know
Most
him
people
as Tai
do.
Lung.
But besides that big white tiger man,
Our battle will be epic.
I wanted to know, since we've talked a lot about the cast and we see the cast a lot when it came to promoting the show. Going around the table here, which of the Straw Hat crew was your favorite in season 1? And I want to start with you, Captain. I want to start with you.
I don't know. I genuinely really liked all 5 of them. Like, I thought the casting was really good. I think they did like their own versions of those characters, but that still felt very real to me. And if I had to pick one, it's like, because I just love Aniki so much. It's hard. It's hard. They all seem like cool people I'd want to hang out with and get drinks with. But probably, I guess I'll just say Luffy just to keep the question going.
Yeah, and Yaki, his energy is infectious, and a different take on Luffy, but definitely something where I'm sure we're gonna circle back to him. But I think a great lead for the show. Kdin, what about you?
Oh, hands down, Jacob Gibson is Usopp. I thought he was perfect. Like, I thought he was amazing. Quite frankly, I feel like Jacob really kind of gets the character the most. I don't necessarily feel like he gets the time to shine that like Usopp kind of like needs to develop the rest of the personality out there, because everything kind of happens really fast, so on and so forth. Not important, but like I feel like he's the one who hits the ground running immediately as Usopp. Like there's no, oh, well, this isn't interesting, or this is kind of like, that's Usopp. Like that's Usopp immediately from tip to tail, top to bottom. I feel like there is so much there, and I feel like a lot of it comes from like I feel like everybody on the cast probably read a lot of the source material to kind of like understand the characters. But I feel like Jacob kind of read the character as it's evolving and definitely felt the need to like go with a much more faster pace to kind of like understand. It's like, hey, you got to understand why this character is doing the things that he's doing, because the episodes are going to go fast. So he adapted it really well, and I thought he did a really good job.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's a lot of, hey, what's this person's deal? And Jacob runs on screen and you immediately get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Even with Inyaki's Luffy, there is definitely some different nuances to it and everything like that. But and I think that that's great, and I think that that's fine, and I think that that's kind of important for an adaptation in general, to not just like one-to-one everything. And we'll probably talk about that more later. But for like the core heart of the character, 100% Jacob Gibson Usopp, just gold stars across the board, 10 out of 10. Can't wait to see what else Jacob can get up to.
What about you, El?
Sure. I feel like Emily Rudd as Nami did an amazing job, considering that this is like her arc and so many complicated, like for a character to go through that many complicated feelings about this crew that she has decided at the beginning she doesn't like and she's just going to use, but then they slowly win her over, is like something really hard to act. And I feel like she did a really good job of like showing the degrees of that changing over the course of the season. So I think she did a pretty good job.
Did you see her performance in the Fear Street series that Netflix did? Pretty darn good. Gotta admit, she's got a lot of power to it, and like those movies take place in different time periods: 1994, 1978, and 1666.
She's got the
And
chaps.
she plays similar yet slightly different characters in all of those. It's interesting, but worth picking up. The Fear Street stuff was pretty good. I think she's a good actress too.
Yeah. This is
Nami's got the chops. Sorry.
Nami's got the chops. Chop Zone. Don't want to watch Chop Zone.
that is this season.
It's just an ER show.
It's just a buckets of blood ER show.
No, I thought
Buggy's got the
I thought,
chop.
Circus tent.
No.
Buggy's got the chop in the circus tent.
I was thinking Chopper, like a Chopper, like hospital
that's true.
drama.
Oh, that's true.
Ooh, we know what's coming after the main series.
No.
Spin-off.
I really like Iñaki. I really liked Emily. I really like Jacob. I was almost gonna say Makenyu, but the early Zoro has so much more levity to him.
Yeah.
And I feel like I still liked his portrayal, but I feel like he was playing too much later Zoro.
Yeah.
But in a similar thing to Emily warming up to the crew and having to confront that, I feel like I think one of the biggest detractors of this season is time. You know, you're adapting 50
Yes.
episodes of television, and so as a result, you have to sort of tighten up. But I still think his energy, like is Zorro, and I think all of these actors provide it. I gotta go with Taz.
Nice.
Like
I can definitely understand that.
He is what everybody thinks Sanji is,
Yeah.
without the detractions.
It's like, hey, you can. It's like, this is what if you talk to somebody who's got the blinders on for Sanji, this is what they'll say Sanji's like.
Yes.
And I
this
think-
guy just wants to sell you a lighter.
And I think you're onto something too. And I think, Mark, you and I are kind of like hitting the same things where both Usopp and Sanji have significantly less time to, here's my character, here's who I am, here's what I'm doing, and then get in it and stay in it. And I feel like both Jacob and Taz kind of had to like, oh, well, everybody else is walking, but the walking speed is like 35 miles per hour. So we got to like run to catch up on the treadmill here before we can start walking this. Yeah. So there was a significant difference in trying to get those characters to feel like their stories are still being told and they're still as important as the other ones, considering the fact that by the time we even hear whispers of really Usopp too much, it's kind of like episode 3 is over and we don't really see too much of it until like really episode 4. Like halfway through episode 3, we basically see more of Usopp and so on and so forth. But like it's really not until episode 4 that you see him all the time, and then that means that you have half the series left. And then similar issues with Sanji. There's Baratier, and then it goes right into the basically the last 3 episodes that all kind of like run together. You have like the opening of Baratier, and then into the second half of it, which tells the story. And then they're just like, other things are happening. We need to, and then Nami's story happens. So it's a lot very fast. And I think that those two really did an exemplary job of getting as much of the character in there, personality-wise, with as little screen time as they were allotted based on the length of the season.
And there are a bunch of characters in these 8 episodes, and the last sort of character question that I wanted to talk about in terms of like favorite adaptation of a side character. Like, okay, Straw Hats are one thing, but now we're going to throw everybody else at the table. Molly, we want to give you the time to gush.
I think you can probably hear it in the tone of my voice, but I am, just for the viewers at home, I am rubbing my hands together eagerly.
And
let's end with Molly.
Peering
then.
out from behind
I think
a
we
tree.
should. I think we should end with Molly talking about Garp and Zeph. So I guess I would ask, other than Garp and Zeph, did you have a favorite adapted character?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I love like all of the casting choices except for one character. But like I think Nojiko, just because I was rewatching some stuff earlier, but like thought like Nojiko was really good. I like the chefs in the Baratier kitchen, like background guys, I thought were good. Shanks's crew, good, approved,
Yes.
approved in my book. All changes approved.
I definitely liked Shanks' crew. They were very
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, off the top of my
Vampire
head,
Pirates.
that's not Zeph and Garp. Those are my.
I definitely have two now that I think about it. I definitely have two.
Go on then.
And
Okay. So I think oh God. First of all, Ben Beckman wasn't really even in it. I just want to put that out there. Ben Beckman was in it for like 0.3
They did Ben
seconds.
Beckman dirty. They did Ben Beckman dirty.
Well, I just wanted to point that out specifically because I'm never going to forget ever the frickin' Ben Beckman question. And so the fact that, the smartest person we know, 0.0000003 seconds of screen time. The first one I want to list, who doesn't really get as much screen time as I really like, because I really like the energy that he brings, is Lucky Roo. I think Lucky Roo was amazing.
Yeah.
Just really fun. Really, like, not only
Him and
gets the
Yasab.
character, not only gets the character, but like kind of adds into it to a degree that like really makes it even more fun. I think it's honestly, based off of what I've seen in the manga of Lucky Roo, this guy gets it. Oh, it's perfect. It's fantastic.
as a quick aside, do you know who got more screen time than Ben Beckman in this show?
Who?
Everybody's longtime favorite guy, Bogard.
Yeah.
Buggy the Clown.
Does
Gotta
anybody?
No,
Does anybody know
Bogart.
who Bogart is?
Yeah,
I know Bogart.
Bogart.
Oh.
Kaden, who's
Garp's
Bogart?
dude.
Okay.
Garp's,
Yeah,
Garp's,
his
little,
right-hand
Garp's
man.
little man. Garp's
That
little
is-
guy.
As like a little aside, Kdin, this is a character who was like always next to Garp pre time skip, and we haven't really seen since. And there are people on the internet who are like, "Where's Bogart? What's he up to?"
I remember Bogart because he looks
Okay.
like he had this like. Yeah, see, kind of like 1950s,
As in Humphrey.
1940s. Very like, yeah, exactly. Very Humphrey Bogart, like big, like
Did you just
brimmed
Bogart
hat
me
and
saying
everything.
Humphrey Bogart?
It's like it's a detective with a katana.
But I think the character that immediately popped to my mind when you said secondary characters is Dracula Mihawk. I thought Mihawk was, if there is one person in this who kind of like not only got the vibe but understood the
Stephen
assignment,
Ward.
this dude is just like, I'm gonna come in and I'm going to basically act like I own the place. And it's like, you got the role, perfect, fantastic, no notes. I thought it was great. I really did
Understood the assignment.
like his cockiness and playfulness with the tiny little sword in the Zorro fight. Really fun. I thought it was great. I thought he did a great job. I thought Stephen Ward as Mihawk, very good, very fun.
How about you, El?
Speaking of Wards, Jeff Ward as Buggy the Clown did a great
For those that don't, for whatever reason, are watching this episode, don't know who Buggy or One Piece is. It's the guy who was haunting the Tumblr
Why are you watching the podcast?
dashboard.
The internet's 180 on who the hell is this guy to watching
Yeah.
the show and be like, this is my favorite character.
Why
Tumblr-
is there
Buggy
a
failing
clown?
up again.
Famed
I
Tumblr
have
sexy man Buggy the Clown.
I have so much to say. I have so much to say about live action Buggy. I'm gonna put that in my pocket. I'm gonna put it in my pocket. I'm gonna put it in my pocket.
Do you
I'm gonna put
guys
it in my
remember
pocket. But you
in,
remember
like,
Tumblr
two-
and Buggy, and we'll come back to it.
Do you guys remember in like 2014 or 16 when there were just people dressed as clowns outside at night, like scaring
hated it.
It
people on the
haunts
internet?
my dreams. It
So, like,
haunts me.
The 2023 version of that was the image of Buggy on a barrel haunting your Tumblr dashboard last summer. Buggy knows what you were scrolling, what you were looking at last summer.
And now there'll
Oh,
be
I
Buggy
see you're
at every con
reblogging.
flicking off every One Piece character.
Yeah, because of that
Buggy
one
just
guy.
like, I see you reblogging feet.
You made it. I was gonna tell myself to isolate that, but I don't want to.
Good idea. Good idea.
I really like. I agree with all y'all, and I also am going to not talk about Garp right now because he would definitely be my choice. Oh my god. Maybe for different reasons than Molly. Who knows? We'll talk about it later.
Who knows?
I'll never tell. I wish that they gave Genzo more time. I wish and I should say with how little time they did give Arlong, he did a lot to make you feel like he was a big deal.
He was chewing up the screen.
I was almost gonna do a cuss, Al. You were gonna make me do a cuss. That was very
I
good.
almost said a naughty.
I almost said a naughty word. But I really liked McKinley's performance, McKinley Belcher III. Giving him Baratier to play around with to help like sort of cement that was I think a better way to connect the dots than just Nami being like, I'm gonna steal a boat. But she gives like you were talking about Emily's performance, she physically changes when she sees the fishmen appear. Just like, oh, fun's over. Oh, they caught me slipping. Damn it. I have to go back to it. Damn it. But yeah, I think everybody realized like, oh, fun cartoon. Like Axehand Morgan was good. Langley Kirkwood as Axehand Morgan was good. We're gonna see Alvida more, but I can't wait to see more of her. But man, Jeff Ward.
Yeah.
Sorry, Al, what did you like?
On Axe Hand Morgan, that fight was so good.
Yeah,
Just the wire fighting that they were doing in there just made me so happy.
the end. Other than television CGI is television CGI. There were some gum attacks that looked better than others, but in terms of the straight up martial stuff, fights were pretty good.
And like the camera was alive for a lot of it. Like considering that they're going from an animation that can literally use the power of imagination to get any shot you want to now you have to pay for the shot you want. I think they did a pretty good job in the combat.
It wasn't the same imagery, but I wanna echo Kdin's question from Discord earlier. Hey Molly, live action Chew, smash or pass?
Yeah, this is important, Molly. We really need this.
I think I had to think about it over yogurt.
Why yogurt?
Well, that was dinner. That was dinner tonight.
Okay.
And I think my consensus is that typically, your fake person crushes, if it's like a manga or an anime to me, if they made that a real person, like, oh, here's the guy, I would be like, I want to die right now. Like, I don't want to. I know I talked a big game, but I don't actually want to interact with this person. And like like there's like a very small amount, an incredibly small amount where it's the opposite, where I'm like, awooga, like, okay, here we go.
We'll get to that later in the episode.
Yeah, and I think Chew is that the other category of like, I didn't actually want to see you fully rendered in 3D. Like, you were cuter, simplified.
Oh, go back.
And now that like I can see the scales on your face, like nothing wrong with scales on your face. It's not the same. It's not the same as like when you're like very a nice character design.
But the lips, Molly.
Pass. Pass.
Okay.
And
That's
if you
all I
want to know
wanted.
more of our One Piece Smash or Pass choices, follow us on twitch.tv/Yayo Talk Show. I need to
Good
prep the next
commercial
one.
advertisement.
Uh-oh.
Money,
Money.
please.
But now sort of like shifting into just like general praise, general discussion. I like the change that they made for the Chew Usopp fight. Just in the sense of like
The Chew
it wasn't
fight?
the Chusop fight. It wasn't a wide open space. It was a forest, so there was more flying. Like it felt a little bit more kinetic.
Yeah, believable too. Where it was like they kind of like, I don't know. That always kind of bugged me in that fight where it's like the trees are really sparse because, you know, people had to draw those, but like actually putting them in a scene and like maybe even letting them like figure out how they want to do it in the landscape that they have, you know what I mean? Like that feels a lot more believable.
Yeah. And I know I said general, but like what are other moments that stand out for y'all? Al, I'll start with you, bud.
I mean, in general, I kind of liked the way they sectioned it out to where we're following both Luffy and Kobe as they're like going through the East Blue. I kind of enjoyed seeing that from two different perspectives, whereas like in the manga, Kobe's story is just kind of told as one panel at a time sort of thing. So seeing it happen simultaneously and to see reactions of like Kobe at Luffy's progress is just like, what? Was neat. A neat new way to see the beginning of One Piece. And also I think it's like sorry.
It was just long enough that I was like, did my internet cut out? It's like a scary.
I also
Always like, I want to get to Garp. Al, can you hurry
it's fine. It's fine.
I mean, I'm trying to find a way to segue into it is what I was doing.
Well, you don't have to because Kdin can talk about her thing and then because I got plenty to say about the show that isn't Garp and Zeph, you know.
That's fair.
I definitely. Oh, I talked about mine. I definitely. Well, there's like, yeah. Let's see. Favorite thing. I really do like. Okay, here's something that I definitely did enjoy is Don Krieg. That whole thing kind of getting resolved before they even got there. It's like in the anime they had the time to do it, and I think it works better in the anime because of how they did it. But with the amount of we gotta yada yada some stuff, that's definitely the thing to yada yada. And
Agreed.
The way that they were segmenting things to like lead into one another, it made sense for what happened to happen. So it by going, it's like, oh yeah, blah blah blah. This technically already does happen in the anime, just not quite like this. And by fudging the numbers just a little bit, going, then it's like, okay, cool. The next thing that's going to happen makes more sense. So I think it was a nice summarization of something while still adhering to the overall concept and idea of what is supposed to happen.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think a lot of as like a broad thing to say, I think a lot of their and it's, again, something I wouldn't normally say, but like their changes from the original with like the parameter of episodes and time that they had available, their changes to the actual story, like I thought those were like good decisions, if that makes sense. Like again, talking about Don Krieg, because it's like, it truly is like, it's just an intro fight for Zeph and Sanji, but they utilize that as like a way to tie in more of Mihawk instead, which I think is good. Because Mihawk is truly a guy who just shows up and they're like, that's the guy, that's the world's greatest swordsman.
I mean, the reason he shows up is specifically because he took down Don Krieg's ship and all of his crew, but Don Krieg got away.
Yes.
And so, like, in that case, it made sense that it's like, hey, well, listen, I don't half-ass my jobs, okay? I'm gonna finish this. So he just shows up and it's like, what are you doing here? It's like, well, I'm finishing what I started. And they're just like, well, we didn't know. It's like, well, you're not supposed to. That'll come in later. And in this case, they're just like, they needed to have a connective tissue. Yeah.
They tie in a bunch of stuff in like that one scene all together though, because we learn right away that like warlords answer to the government because like Garp puts out a freaking hit, you know, and like is like calling this guy up on his Bluetooth, like, hello. I like in that scene that they do a lot, like they do a show and tell. They're showing the fight, which really has no consequences in this live action, but like we learn about Mihawk in that scene. What him and Garp are talking about is also information, and like it's a good gel of like in terms of like like condensing things. That one scene, like if you didn't see that scene in that episode, you would probably be very confused for a lot of that episode.
And it also adds tension to him showing up, is because when he shows up in the anime, you then see what he can do. But since you see what Mihawk can do before, when he shows up, then you're like, uh-oh.
Arlong showing up, I thought was a great way to tie that in. I love how Buggy keeps like getting interweaved in as a character that like we normally would be like, and what's Buggy up to? Cuts to like where Buggy is on the sea. It's like, oh, Buggy's just with us this like at this time. I love how they did for Syrup Island. Like that was like cool. Now you're in an escape room, like a true horror story now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you first, Al.
It was so good. The sets for that. I loved the mansion in that episode.
And the little thing of Zoro being like, yeah, this place is a maze.
Like the designs for like that, truly it's like, yeah, they're just in a mansion, but we're only in like 2 rooms in the anime, and then most of it is outside for the rest of the fight. But like having him like walk around, and it's like Five Nights at Freddy's, where it's like, oh my god, like where is he? What hallway?
You want to talk about chewing up the scenery? Alexander Maniatis as Kuro. Oh my god! Once he finally was able to. Molly,
that dude ate the walls.
Molly, this isn't for you. This is a descriptor. When he was able to go off Queen, he absolutely was like, I don't have to listen to this dumb kid Miss Kaya. Like butter. Like ew, I don't like that. Ooh, that's good that I don't like that.
Ick.
Very ick. Ugh.
Ick.
But in terms of playing a villain well, excellent job.
Yeah.
I like the changes that they made to, I can't remember their names now, but like basically his 2 hench cats.
Sham and what's the other one's name?
Look, I don't know if they threw out pronouns at all, but I do like the actor choices that they picked for those characters.
Yeah,
Bucci and Sham, by the way.
Bucci?
It was
Bucci,
weird to not. Is it weird to miss Django?
I mean, I thought it was interesting that they just didn't have Django at all. Like, not even like a mention. I think there's a poster of him if you look in the background of a scene.
Yeah.
But like, it's like they made a choice not to like. They truly maybe if they're like whoever we picked for Django, either 2 things: it's too close to Michael Jackson, or whoever we get, it's gonna steal the show. My thoughts.
We won't be able to make their eyes hardy enough.
Oh, also, the motif that they used of introducing the pirates with the wanted poster flying over their faces.
So good. Such a good idea.
That was just one of those like, oh.
Here's the thing that I really liked about it. Because like when I first saw it, I'm just like, okay, that's a little cheesy. But the thing that I did like about it was the fact that when it came up, anytime it came up in front of their actual face and everything like that, they'd interact with it. It'd either get cut in half or like it gets crumpled up and like grab it and crumple it up and throw it away.
They would tell a little bit about themselves in how they got rid of the poster.
That was more important than I think like, oh, here's the poster thing. Forget the stupid poster thing. It's a cool little touch thing, whatever, blah, blah, blah. The character interacting with the poster and how they do it, way more important.
It's true,
Molly.
but it's like, okay, so it's like, Buggy bats it away, like Kudo slices it, Don Krieg like pulls it and crumples it up. They all have a thing interacting with it in terms of like fighting, and Gold Rogers just hits him in the face and flies away because his hands are tied.
Yeah.
And it's also
Feels
not
accurate.
It's not like really like conducive to the scene, but it's so funny because it's like for everybody else they have a moment except for him. And they did a cool job where they did it so close up you can't see how much his wanted level is. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
Yeah.
I find it really silly while we're talking about the wanted posters. I find it really silly the ones that are on the wall that Luffy looks at. It's like, okay, Bellamy kind of makes sense. We're gonna see him in a little bit. Foxy, don't get my hopes up, you sons of bitches.
You're not going to get
And-
that many seasons.
and of
Netflix
all-
cancels everything too much, so you're not getting there.
Of all of the people to put on the wall, they put Cavendish.
Yeah.
What, like, Oda really likes that guy.
Secondary, everyone's favorite character. It goes Bogard, and then it goes Cavendish.
That's true, but you got to put Bogart on top, though.
I think they did Cavendish for like the basically Mike Wazowski meme of it all, of it being like
That's probably true because Cavendish sucks.
this whole thing is wanting to be recognized and not getting recognition for
It's
it.
true.
Yeah, so
very true.
putting him out in the open this early, yeah, that's pretty funny.
Agreed.
And I do agree, Al, with what you're saying about Kobe. And a great performance from Kobe too, from Morgan
Yeah.
Davies for Kobe. Hey, Kdin.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Kdin.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about Helmeppo's butt?
So here's the
Why
thing.
no react? Why no
I
react?
kind of hated that. I kind of did not like that. I was just like, okay.
Yeah, it was pretty flat.
That was
Okay.
Bitch.
All right. Not what I was saying.
Not a good butt.
Caden's gonna hate to hear this, but truly, I feel like when I saw the butt, I felt like I finally had like permission to laugh, if that makes sense. Like I wasn't enjoying the episode up until that point, but I don't know if I was doing more than like a couple chuckles at the best.
I definitely
that-
did the other thing. I definitely
What
did the other
happened,
thing
I
when
was
that
like,
happened.
oh my god, they did that.
I did the eye roll, and then it's just like, okay, yeah. Now he's embarrassed, and then he puts the plush toy in front of his junk. Yes, I've seen this before.
To me,
it was fine.
it gave us more of a direct reason to put, or it put more of a direct reason than him being an entitled rich kid for us to not like him because he was a bad person.
I don't know,
Yeah, it's
man.
like,
I don't think you
how
need
do you-
to add on to that, especially with, haha, look at his butt. I don't necessarily think that's necessary. It's fine. It doesn't necessarily detract from the point or purpose.
I wonder
okay.
if somebody wrote in the script, like, they catch him with his pants down, and somebody went, all right, bet. And they went, no, just as a concept.
I honestly, it was like that scene, like him being naked, like posing with a katana. I know like 20 guys from high school with this energy. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like people who you want to punch, but like you're just getting to college to get away from that person. And it just felt like I know who this character is. You know what I mean?
It's like Helmeppo is supposed to be painted as a loser, and in the anime it happens over several episodes. And if you need it to happen fast, the live action
I guess
saved
that's
a lot of
I guess
time.
I guess that's technically true, but he's already been a despicable garbage dumpster of a person before that point. That's just like, yeah,
For
okay,
sure.
we're gonna show a butt. And it's like, okay, that's fine. That's fine. You can show a butt if you want. I just don't know if it necessarily added to anything more than just like
the
tee-hee,
one
we're gonna-
time,
that's
the
fine.
one time I'm pro the nudity and Caden is against the nudity. I'm usually
I don't
like
thi-
unnecessary fan service. But
It's not
this
fan
time
service.
around,
Nobody wants to see that anyway.
I bet if
Who's
you
just like,
googled
who-
right now, there are people on Reddit.
I
who
need to.
wanted
I
that.
need to. Molly, here's your homework, and or also the
No.
audience. I need you to go out and find the thirstiest Helmeppo thing, and prove
ew.
to me that there is somebody out there thirsty for Helmeppo like that.
Why do
'Cause
you want
otherwise,
us to
I don't
prove
believe
to
it.
you something that
People-
you want? You should look for it.
I'm not looking for it because I don't care.
People,
Nobody
to be
wants
fair,
to see. Nobody wants to see the
Assignment
butt.
done because nobody cares.
to be fair, people are thirsty for Kobe, who I view as a child. Like that's a baby boy.
Here's the
baby
other
boy.
thing. They're all okay. Molly, you're touching on things. I'm gonna take a step back.
Molly, don't touch it. We're playing Splatoon.
I'll get to that soon.
Why is my hand burning?
But I definitely understand what you're saying, and I wholeheartedly agree that it's very fucking weird. Censor that.
you know
that people are just like, ooh, Kobe. Oh, that's why it's like.
You know what else I liked about this show? the costumes. That the costumes were costumes
Yeah.
from the color spreads and
Oh,
other
dude. Yeah.
like designs Oda did, like Hawaiian shirts and patterns and like colorways that make me very nostalgia, or outfits of the characters in the original story that was not One Piece. That then he went into One Piece after that for like Nami's character.
The concept art that became live action.
Yeah,
Costume?
Yeah.
no, the I can't remember his original story, but like Nami used to have like an axe arm and had like
Yeah, the orange striped shirt, right?
it's
Yeah.
the
Or sock?
yes, yeah, the one stocking. She got to wear that in the scene where she steals the buggy cruise ship. Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
There are a lot of Easter eggs for people if like you are like hardcore fans, like could pick up on. A lot of the background details had like foreshadowing stuff. So I like that. Anybody? You guys like that?
I also liked the Den Den Mushi design
Yeah.
/ puppets.
I also kind of
Terrifying
hated them.
in the best
I hated
possible
them.
way.
I think,
they were
I
too
think
creepy.
they had to be that way because how
Yeah.
else are you going to do?
You could do a cute snail. There's cute snails out there.
I mean, would they be claymation or something to get them that smooth? Like
That would be
they
so
had
cool.
to be wrinkly,
Yeah,
weird, carnivorous Australian snails.
Yeah, they made a choice. I don't know if it was the right one, but like, it's the fact that like you can buy the live action Garp snail is just like that's too detailed.
It did.
Well, they made an Oda snail.
That's how
That's
he
right.
announced season 2 was through the
Yeah.
snail.
I
There's
don't.
something
I don't
funnier
like
to
them.
me
I don't
that-
like them. They're creepy.
I like the Bluetooth
unsettling.
one. I like the
Yeah.
Bluetooth one. That one's silly.
The one
I-
that the one that drowned. The baby.
Aw.
That
Did it
they
drown?
drown it. Yes.
Mihawks. I can't remember. It was Mihawks.
No, you're talking about Nami's. Nami had a Bluetooth one and it drowned.
Oh, I'm talking about Mihawk's Bluetooth one, where he's like, Garp, hang on a second, I'm a little busy. Yellow, and then is like, pew, pew, like fights Don Krieg.
Slice, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Nami had one too, and it died.
Oops.
No. Oops.
Well, did it die, or did it just go back to its natural habitat?
it went to
Maybe
a farm
it was a sea
upstate.
slug.
It went.
Yeah.
It went. Yeah, definitely
Yes.
went to a farm upstate.
Maybe it was
A
a
snail
sea
farm.
slug.
Sea slug snail farm.
The snail farm in Skypiea.
It was because for the most part the larger Denden Mushis were associated with the government. Them looking creepy gave you a reason to like anticipate, ooh, something gross is going to happen. Something bad's going to happen. And I think it was a good visual way to clue you in of like, uh-oh, something bad's going to happen to the people we like.
I don't like them. They creep me out.
R.I.P.
It's like they're so icky. They
Yeah.
make me. Ugh.
I love the meme I just posted in the meme channel in relation to.
What happened?
For those at home, Netflix tweeted, I present to you the One Piece transponder snails. And it's a close-up of the Garp one and a close-up of the Axan Morgan one. Somebody replies, I'm not going to out them. Somebody replies, my horny ass could not have a transponder snail. And Netflix replied with a reaction image of Kobe looking like 1,000 miles away, like he's thinking about the war.
Just concern.
So funny.
Very
People outing
concerned.
themselves on social media wouldn't be me.
I don't understand. My horny ass could not have a transponder snail. Just-
Yeah, me either. Let's talk about Buggy some more.
Okay, let's get into the Buggy episode because I have thoughts and I like it. But like, man, Buggy therapy session. Am I right?
Yeah, I like how everybody in a similar way. In some ways where they were tightening things up and it's like, oh, I wish we had more time. The way that they made stuff connect more directly in a way that we know now that it does. Mm-hmm. I feel like it did the story a bigger service to make the ocean feel a lot bigger than it is.
Yeah, hindsight being what it is, a lot of things got more interconnected early on instead of just being revealed as like a one frame sentence.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, what? Like we're
Yeah.
just, we're seeing everything connected.
A frame of a
Buggy-
character that describes them that we don't read, but Kdin does.
Buggy
When did yeah.
will do anything but go to therapy. Yeah. I liked it just because, like, in terms of, like, what we come to find that, like, Shanks and Buggy were on, like, Gold Roger's ship. And, like, Buggy is, like, just, like, a little messed up guy in the manga, but, like, messed up
just a
because
little
he
messed up
chooses
guy.
to be messed up, right? Like, that's, like, his pirate aesthetic. Whereas Show Buggy is very much, like, processing child trauma, whether he knows it or not, like, is... Like, I don't know.
Some people choose violence. Buggy chooses trauma.
Yeah.
And sad.
It was like, again, like we talked about it a little bit, but like I like how this guy chose to play this version of Buggy. Like I think it still fits the character. It's just not the type of Buggy we knew in like chapter 5, right? Like it's Buggy we know after the time skip at least. Like when we get to know, we have time to like we're on, you know, like we get to know him a little bit better. But like it's just so funny though how it's like I don't know if I've ever truly I mean I've thought about it on surface level, but the level in which he takes it in these scenes with Luffy about being like Shanks lied to you. Like how do I know he lies to you? Because he lied to me. And it's like, dude, you are projecting so hard, and it's a level of like I pick up the themes in the show and the manga, but I don't know if I've truly picked up to the level of him projecting in this show until they did it. And I was like, oh, yeah, actually, woof. Yeah,
And also
I mean,
how
yeah.
small he is. You know? Like we know how shallow and small Buggy can be. And they threw that in the forefront with his unresolved trauma with Shanks. and I don't remember him freaking out that much about his nose in the manga.
The
I know
original
he
scene,
does.
it's like a thing where it's the cut and back of like they talk. Don't say anything about his nose, and like everyone's looking at Buggy and sweating, and it like keeps cutting up closer and closer until he was like, "That's it, Buggy Bomb!" Like it's like a thing in that regard, but it's like the level of him working through his trauma but getting
Exactly.
nowhere in this scene. I also love that he has not stopped thinking about Shanks this whole time, and Shanks
Same.
is just like having fun without him. Like it's like I hope he's having a terrible day, and it's like Shanks maybe once in a while being like, man, I wonder what Buggy's up to. Man, that guy
I miss
was
Buggy.
great. Yeah, I miss Buggy. And then Buggy's being like, I'm gonna make him regret. I'm like putting his lipstick on, like I'm gonna make him regret one day. It's like his whole reason for being out there and doing stuff. And Shanks is just like doing tequila shots and dancing to like Dixie Girls on the bar top, like Coyote Wild style.
Dude, like
Shanks graduated Gold Roger College, and Buggy stayed to do his graduate studies. He's off having
Miserable. He's miserable. Yeah, he's in so much debt. He's miserable. Has no time to have a relationship or hang out.
fun. Curse you, Shanks!
Yeah, I love this portrayal of Buggy. For again, my first instance with this version of Buggy was the trailer, which I think the trailer was cut before all the effects were finished because
They always
the
are.
scene-
They always
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
The scenes with Buggy were truly terrifying in the trailer, and then actually watching the episode, I was like, that wasn't that bad. But also, it was like the trailer first, and then him haunting us on Tumblr, and then actual Buggy.
yeah, like the fisheye shots were just like, oh, what are they gonna do? And everybody went, okay, good.
Yeah, truly, I went from fearing the worst to being like, okay, it's not as bad. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
It's like how Buggy sees himself versus like his head cut off in a bag.
yes.
Oops.
Yeah.
Can someone help me, please?
Him when they bring him back later in the show, that really got me. And then his iconic flipping everybody off scene in the last episode, very iconic.
Him being used as a homing device
I
to
like
further tie these episodes together.
I truly have to think about it, and it could be a quiz question later. I don't know if Buggy and Usopp have ever interacted together, like at each other before. And like them in the show, I was like, these are characters I never considered talking to each other before.
Like there's discussions in the community about like what everybody's final battle is gonna be, and people say Buggy and Usopp all the time, and I was like, they haven't talked ever.
They don't know
Yeah.
who they are. I'll be honest, I don't know if Usopp knows who Buggy is.
and that would
the
kind
only
of make
thing-
it funnier.
Yeah.
The only thing Buggy says to Usopp in like the first episode is "and my bow," and
Like, yeah, it's like, ow. I feel like if it comes down to Buggy versus Usopp, it's like it's playing chicken basically with chickens. Because it's like both, if they've heard anything about each other, it's God Usopp and this like larger than life Buggy. And it's
Buggy
like if they
D clown.
yeah, and it's like having to like these two like people are just full of like literally one of them literally hot like full of hot air literally, and the other one is like made his career. I mean, they both basically made their career on lying. So it's like, what do they do? Being like, I have 10,000 men at the ready, and then Buggy being like, I too have 10,000 men at the ready.
Except he actually does, and he just hates it.
No, they both do, because like God Usopp's got the fleet, like the Straw Hat fleet technically.
Let's
and
not
then
go too
Buggy's-
far into the future.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it now, and
Yeah.
I'm like, who would I put my money on? What's the funnier call here? I don't know.
Good.
Anyway, I had a lot of character interactions that have never happened before, that I've never thought about it, and didn't know I needed. Like, let's say a certain episode where, like, I don't know, Garp and Zeph sit down and have a
Is it time?
very romantic French meal together.
There's
you
so much.
didn't know
There's
you
so
wanted-
much. Molly's wearing some serious old man rose-colored glasses.
I'm sweating.
For a lot of this, and I very much like as I was getting through these episodes and I'm watching them. I'm just like, yeah, Molly probably like freeze framed here and here and here, and there was definitely a lot more Garp than I expected. A lot more Garp.
Loved it.
I thought
if there was a
I thought it was
VHS, you would be able to tell where Molly saw the whole time.
fine. Wore out the VHS and the Garp sections.
It's all
She had to buy a
staticky
second
here for some
one.
reason.
Back and to the left.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but I wanted to ask. This is also kind of a general question. And sorry, Mother, we're going to talk about your significant other later when we talk about Garp and
What?
Zeph. But
I
what?
can't believe it.
Alan Kdin, did you watch any of this show with your significant others?
Absolutely
Yes.
not.
I did.
We didn't want to spoil it for Sam.
Fair enough. Then Al, I want to ask you: did your partner have any? Are there any memories of watching the show with your partner that will live with you? Because I have like two, at the very least, that I want to share.
There were a bunch of moments where I just turned and like stopped watching just to watch her reaction. And there was basically the Arlong situation was pretty good. The whole fight is that I just turned and looked at as the building collapsed, and she's just like, huh. But the overall, the thing that I got out of it is that if you have someone you want to show One Piece to and you don't want them to sit through, or if they specifically don't want to sit through all the intros and outros and everything, it's a pretty good condensed way of like getting the vibe of what One Piece is. It like the accessibility, I guess, is a lot higher than you'd expect out of a live action adaptation.
I think this is a good gateway to like. I think one of the positive things to come out of this is people who are too afraid to start One Piece will watch this and go, you know what, I'm going to give the anime a try.
Yeah. Basically, Callie's excited for the next live action season. I don't know if I can get her on board for the anime just because of the episode number is still insane.
I do know a lot of friends though that have been like neglecting One Piece for years and years, and this was their step in of like, I'm considering reading now, like because which it's like I feel like in terms of movie adaptations based on like books or some other property that has its own thing, I feel like in a very small amount, this has been the pathway for me in certain things. Like, I remember watching the first Percy Jackson movie, and like it wasn't great or perfect, but it was enough for me to be like, okay, I'm interested to read the books now, and like fully read every single book like in that series. And then the same thing with like Inkheart, where I watched it and I was like, damn, Brandon Fraser, get it. And then read that, and then found out that the author purposely wrote his character based on his character in The Mummy, and then was like, he'd be perfect for the role. And then he also does the narration for the audio book, but that's beside the point. So I think in terms of like absolute no idea what One Piece is, I think that this is like a good step in for some people. It gave them opportunity to meet the characters and see the good sides of these characters, to then sell the idea of like then checking it out, I guess.
With that in mind, when we got to the Buggy episodes, Andrea was just like,
oh my god,
this is the guy?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I remember the conversation we had with her at the pub, and trying to explain who Buggy was to her, and I was like, wait, is this her first true like reaction to Buggy?
Yeah, so that was one of the things where it's just like, all right, that's rent free in my brain.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
What I described earlier as me watching Callie's reaction, she turned to look at me during the Buggy episode.
This feels like both of your partners were just like, this is the person you took as your free pass? This is the one?
Stop it. Shut it out. Ew, gross.
This is who becomes between us, right?
This is the one? I mean, no judgment, but
A floating middle finger to you, ma'am.
This is the one I made a plushie of that is full of crumpled up paper and coin.
That's the guy, the potato sack guy.
That's him.
This is the junk on your desk next to all of the wonderful gifts that I've given you.
So this is the portrait that's on your desk at work instead of the picture of me?
No, this is my Wolverine meme.
Oh my god. That's really
the other
I'm
thing that will
sorry.
live rent free in my head, and we can talk about this moment how if we want to, the fact that we got so much Garp in the first season.
Yes.
And I mean, we've been talking about a lot of spoilers already, but I'm gonna say it before I say this next part. If for some reason you haven't watched and you've already gotten through all of the stuff that we've talked about and you've gotten to this point, go watch it.
This is the first episode of ours you're listening to?
Why?
How come that happens how come that phrase is uttered so many times?
I don't know.
Kdin, you've met us.
Yes. Yeah, I have.
Well, good night, everybody. We'll see you next time on Yaya. The moment where I was like trying to catch glances on the side without like trying to make it obvious that something was about to happen was when Luffy utters the word "Grandpa."
Grandpa.
Andrea freaked out.
Aww.
She had in the best possible way.
Yeah.
Like the same thing as the crew where everybody went, "Grandpa," and she did the same thing, and she was just like, her mind was blown. It's like, what? That makes so much sense. Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, this is the best thing ever.
I was just talking to a friend about that scene, and like, because we're talking about like how like we were surprised by how much they put Garp in, and like that hook came in, you know, which is like almost like halfway through One Piece at the time when that gets dropped. And I was like, I think truly it was like trying to like get some like audience hooks in that. And then like in terms of like One Piece for a while, we really don't get like the marine side of things very often. And so I thought that was like a nice, like having Garp in for as long as we did, I think was a good tie-in for like, what's the other side doing? Like what's Kobe up to kind of stuff. But I mean, I'm not gonna say no to Garp. Okay, we get like this. This is my Hobbit argument, Kdin. This is my Hobbit argument where people were like, "Oh, it was too long. Why did they make 3 movies out of 1 book?" And I'm like, "Cool, more content, 2 cakes." Like I get excited because there's more of the thing that I love.
How come Mom let you have two grandpas?
Because shut up. But yeah, I know a lot of people were like, that was like such a cool thing later on, but I was like, I think that's like enough of a hook to get new audiences interested, and then to watch a very long time before Garp actually shows up to be like, oh, there he is.
That's the guy.
There he is, officer.
Yeah.
That's the Garp.
Vincent Regan's performance throughout is so good, especially when you're like, oh, this guy's a villain. Why is this guy so dead set on catching this dumb kid that nobody should care? There it is.
But it's funnier because the way that they portray Luffy's childhood in the show, where it's like, I think we assume based on certain scenes in the manga that Luffy does in fact have a house he lives in until he goes to Dadan's, but like in the show they're just straight up like, no, he's just living under the docks and he's just like a straight up urchin. And then when we, like, later in the show, you're like, that's really messed up because he has family who checks up on him. Why is he living under the docks?
Cool shirt, though.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I think it fit the vibe better, but in terms of like when you think about it a little too long, you're like, that's messed up, and it's always been messed up. We've had this conversation about Garp before, and I hear you, and I hear you, and I get it. Is he a perfect
look
person?
at him.
No.
Yes.
But this person,
Here she goes.
He learned all of his parenting skills from Goku.
I like truly.
No, no. Goku's way worse than Garp.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be real with you. Garp at least knew to be, hey, I'm not the person for this. I'm gonna hand the kid off to somebody who is and who can keep me in the know about what the kid's doing and how he's doing and all that stuff. So Garp is at least there.
In the One Piece world, right? The best you can do is save an orphan and get him a house and some food, you know what I mean? Like, that's like, in terms of like how terrible this world is, like, you know, as long as the kid's alive and breathing. Luffy's just a special case where he eats forbidden fruit, literally, and is dead set on becoming probably arguably like the hardest occupation in this world. And that's like, you know, modern day me being like, Dad, I'm gonna be an artist, and he's like, no, like think about your life choices or whatever. But
Think about your future.
Yeah, in a non like modern world too, like Dragon Ball Z is in the modern world. Like, Goku's just bad. He's just a bad guy, dude.
Go fight Perfect Cell, son.
What was the thought before the Goku comment? Because I had a thought and now it's gone.
Sorry.
We were talking about. I guess. I was going to transition into the fact that we got the like actual flashback. We've got younger Garp. We got Gray Fox Garp with baby Luffy, and it is as unhinged as I wanted it to be.
A man in a Hawaiian shirt destroys a child's boat wasn't on my bingo card, but
now I'm gonna go eat 10 steaks.
Yeah, there was like I know Kdin was saying it, and she'll get to it, that like she didn't like Garp's portrayal in this, and I understand why.
Don't
fully,
give
like,
away the plot, Molly.
The character of like.
We've been doing good this whole time. Don't give up the ghost.
The character in the anime is this kind of fun, bumbling guy, but I do like how, again, like I like how this actor portrayed this version of Garp. Because it's also like a version of Garp that we don't normally get in canon, but it's stuff that I actively look for in fan fiction, where it's the more of like, he actually does care about his family. Like, he does actually, like, do things in the Marines. Like, he has a point to the things that he does for Kobe. And I feel like this is like a more... the story's not about Garp in One Piece, but I think it really gives him credit in this show of how they structured this version of Garp, and I like that.
And also, in the anime, like, we don't get... we don't get the Garp that we all know and love for a long time.
I think I had the thought when I was eating dinner, because I was watching the last fight scene with Garp and Luffy in the show, and I think truly a lot of the choices they made with Garp this season. Again, if they get to it, which I don't think that they will, but I feel like they're setting up a lot of stuff for when Ace is involved. And it's a lot of, I think a lot of the themes that we learn about Ace in One Piece, they did a lot of echoing that with Garp in this first season.
Hey, Molly, what do you think's going to happen
If
to
we-
Ace in the next season?
If we get to Alabasta in the next season, we will meet Ace.
We will.
So
I mean, that's
it's like,
that's the rumor.
and I think that'll be funnier because it's like if Andrea has this moment where she's like grandpa, and then next season it's brother, like then the third season it's daddy, like her father, like that is a good bit that I will allow to happen.
Yeah, I don't
you
want her
say
to
that,
watch
but-
any One Piece and say
but wait
daddy.
a minute. But wait a minute. No. Hold on. Like we already saw Dragon.
We did.
We did.
True.
So
He was in the-
I'm
he
wondering
was in the
wondering if they're going to, since they hit the express button on Garp's story and they took like 300 episodes and put his thing in season 1. I'm wondering if they're going to be just like, hey, Dragon's actually going to show up and it's going to be a tease in season 2. It's just like, oh, that was Luffy's dad. And everybody will be like, and then like get all the Luffy family stuff out of the way. Because it seems like they're like trying to get to those moments much faster.
Did
also
you?
just-
No, go ahead, Al.
Sorry, I'm also just trying to do the calculus on how are they going to boil these things into one season, because not every arc is the same length.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Well, if
Well,
they
'cause-
continue to condense down certain like things that they want to do, like they're gonna put emphasis on other things, I guess. But they're just gonna have to pick and choose
If they go
with
to
Oda's consent.
if they do Alabasta, and we already know that they're planning to do Chopper, then this season would have to have Laboon, Whiskey Peak, Little Garden,
Yeah.
Sakura Town, Sakura Island, and then Alabasta.
Like I feel like they'll probably do the front half of them getting to Alabasta. So like maybe like episode 5 they get to Alabasta, and then the rest of that season is just gonna be resolving Alabasta.
Ugh, that's a lot.
Like I feel like they might pick and choose like the operatives from Baroque works instead of having all the ones that we know. Like I feel like they'll give a lot more to Robin, so that she's more relevant to be cut.
They'll probably cut out most of Baroque works. There'll probably be almost no
have
Baroque
to be
works
at
people.
least 3.
Like I feel
You'll
like
have
Little
at least
Garden
3.
will
'Cause-
have Robin to some capacity.
And with the tease that they did at the end of the season, I feel like Logtown's going to be a pretty big part of what happens first.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
like,
sure.
they're going to have to do a bunch of Logtown first because they haven't even done that yet. Like in 8 episodes, they did not go to Logtown. They haven't talked about it. They talked about the
first
stuff.
scene. The first scene is in it's the Rogers.
I mean, like
execution.
the crew itself.
I know, but I just mean in terms of like setting it up. It could be like the very first episode of the next season, since that's the
It's
first
very
scene of
likely-
the first
Probably.
episode.
But it's probably going to end up being 2 or 3. With
Did
what-
you-
the way that
Probably
they kinda
not 3.
teased it.
Three is too much. If they compressed all of Windmill Island into like a couple of episodes,
It's
we're
true.
not going to waste that much time. We might get a shopping montage,
We
and
won't.
then we move on.
Talking
won't.
about
No
the
shopping
crowd,
montage is
Kdin,
allowed.
though, at Rogers' execution, did you catch?
Yeah, what the hell?
Easter
Everybody
egg?
was there. Literally everybody was there. It was
No,
just
no.
like
No,
there was
no.
a Smash Brothers brawl of like executions, I'll be honest.
But like those are all characters we know were there. Did you, Miss Kdin? Did you catch the little secret Easter egg?
Which Easter egg? Because some of the people who
there's-
were there weren't supposed to be there.
No, all
Unless-
those people are confirmed that they were there.
Well, then they were missing some of the people that were supposed to be there.
Well, they didn't show everybody, but everybody that they showed was confirmed to be there.
Okay, then what? What am I missing?
I'm putting it in memes. There's
Molly,
a fan theory.
audio medium.
For you, Kdin, for you. There's a fan theory out there that this woman that they showed a quick clip of in the live action show is a possible nod to trans crocodile. since the confirmation we have of Crocodile being there, we only get to see like a profile of his face.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like a little possibly confirmation, possibly could just be a fan thing, but like they did like for sure cut to her for some reason.
And she's in focus. So people think that it's confirming
They just recast
that theory.
Smoker.
No.
Or not Smoker, Crocodile.
It's either
We told you that fan theory, right?
Oh yeah, I know.
Crocomom. This is
But
where
only part of
Dragon and Crocomom met.
No.
Hey, you
They
wanna have a kid?
they got real horny at the execution, and we're like, well, I guess we're starting a new era. Haha.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Am I left?
I mean, okay, I made this joke, but now I'm thinking about it because in the timeline of this happening, like, Ace wouldn't have been born yet, and he's like, what, 3 years older than Luffy? So if they got pregnant now, that's 9 months.
Well, how long was Rouge or not? When did like?
That was a quiz question. Do you remember?
No.
I think
No, I
it was
do not.
20
Well, no, it's
months.
not
20
how
months.
long. Not how long
Someone
was
cue
Rouge
the
pregnant.
music.
But I thought about it, but I was like, no, not tonight. It was
Not like this.
When did Roger tell Garp versus when was that? How long was that before Roger got executed?
I mean,
Because if that's the case, then yeah.
I mean, like, it took a while for Garp to get to her, though. Because,
Yeah,
like, he died. We saw her react to him being executed, and then she still had Ace in her for a while.
Yeah, then she held the baby. That's right.
Yeah,
and
then Garp showed up when it was born.
This is the wildest meet cute.
I know. I'm just saying, I'm thinking about it
execution of the Pirate King.
now. I'm thinking about it. I mean, it's truly like, that's a good opener, though. Like, you go to the bar, you see somebody else who's handling it poorly, you order a drink, and you go, so that was crazy. And that's the conversation starts right up.
Wow, that was crazy. Yeah, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got into this mess.
Good.
Minecraft villagers.
Speaking of, I like how they portray characters and not necessarily what we see in the canon verse, but what I actively go and find in fanfic verse. All of the scenes with Zeph and Sanji, like actual layering of parenting in this. Like I love their them riffing off each other. I like their dynamic. Like I like that whole situation of like the in the back of the kitchen area. Like, I don't know. That was a good episode. I really liked that.
I liked how they gave us more of their backstory of how the shipwreck happened, but what Zeph saw in Sanji like right away.
Yeah. It's like more diluted content of like, instead of being like, here's just what this guy's deal is, just so you know who this person is. Like there's like more layer to it.
Yeah. More minutia.
Yeah.
So what I'm wondering is, do we transition to Kdin's portion of the show and let her non-cussingly #, go off queen, and then reconvene to talk about Zeph and Garp some more?
Sure. End on a high note.
Yeah. So, hey, bit of a disclaimer. Hey, everybody. Now, we didn't.
Welcome to Yayo Talk Show.
This wasn't. Why is this your first episode?
Another one.
Did we think? Did all of us think that One Piece live action was a perfect show? Of course not.
No.
Do some of us think differently about it than others? Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Maybe.
Perhaps. Maybe I won't bury the lead, even though we have a couple times.
Yeah.
But hey, Kdin, let's try to have a dialogue. Hey, let me sit back. Let me sit backwards in my chair.
Oh my God.
Let's
doing
wrap.
it.
Let's wrap.
Okay. Cool.
What? Didn't have a good time there, hey bud.
I hated this. I hated every single frickin' second of this.
That's not
I
true.
hated
You
it.
talked about stuff that you liked, so you can't say that you hated every second.
Listen, I hated it. I really did. I feel bad that I hated it because I went in being just like, maybe this is the one. Maybe this is the one. Mark, Ellen, Molly have said that they've enjoyed themselves. Maybe this is the one. I was bored 30 minutes into episode 1, and I'm like, oh God, oh no. And by the end of it, I was thinking it was over. My favorite part of the series is the credits, and I hate saying that. There's a lot of this that I just do not agree with fundamentally as a creator, as an artist, as somebody who's worked in the film industry, as somebody who's worked in the entertainment industry as a whole. There's a lot of things that I don't like about this. First and foremost, the thing that we're immediately inundated with is the third world country orange filter thing that Hollywood loves to add over everything. And it's over every single scene in every single episode. And it washes out what I think is something that is so true to One Piece, which is the brightness of it all. And the idea of color in the world and how poppy everything looks. And like, that Luffy's shirt is that bright red, but the color grading filters that have been put over it really wash out every scene. And it does not do what the people who have done with the costumes and the set design and all the actual fundamental like carpentry for all the work on the towns and all the other things and all the sewing and all the details. It does not do it any service. It really detracts from a lot of the things that I think would look amazing if this was not there. And it really does end up making me feel like I can't believe we're still doing this in 2023/2024. And I can't say it enough. Please stop doing that in every movie ever. No place looks like that. No place has an orange filter over it, and I don't like it.
Except for Arizona.
That is true. Except for one place, and it is Arizona, and only during a lightning/dust storm at the same time, which is horrifying. Don't do that.
Shout out.
I think I put it best right at the beginning when I was talking about things. It's like, as a fan of One Piece, this is neat at best for me. It's really interesting to see what the changes are and how they string everything together and what they cut out and what they keep in and for what reasons and what changes and how things flow into each other. Because at the end of the day, this is a show made for American audiences. This is a show cut, edited, shot, etc. for American live action series fans. I'm not one of those. I hate a lot of that stuff. I'm not interested in it. It's why a lot of people who would recommend a live action show to me, and I pass because I'm ultimately not interested. I don't necessarily agree with the overall editing styles of a lot of things. There's so many in some of the fight scenes and in some scenes in general. Arlong's speech in particular comes to mind. There's like 80 cuts. They cut so many times in just that one scene. It's like,
he's got a sharp face.
Okay, good joke, Al.
Looking sharp there, bud.
But as somebody who has spent 17 years of their life editing long form content and short form content and all of these things, the only reason you make that many cuts is when you didn't get what you want as the director, and that's a fault on you, not on the actors, not on the people filming or anything like that. That is you making a mistake, and you didn't get what you wanted out of it, and then you have to cobble it together. Or you make a stylistic choice to do all those cuts, but it doesn't look good. It does not look good. It is very, very, very frustrating. A lot of the impacts, those big hits that I talk about so much in our podcast about every fight having those big hits, especially from Luffy, the weight is not there. There is no weight to it. It all kind of feels limp. It's Gum Bum Bell specifically kind of comes to mind where it's just like, okay, that happened. It doesn't feel as heavy as it should. Nothing feels weighty or like it's as big. Garp throwing the cannonball. That happens way later in the series, happens way earlier here. The cannonball Garp has is about a little bit softball baseball size. Garp picks up a huge freaking...
To be fair, that is a much more realistically sized cannonball.
But that's in Earth, on Earth. that is a realistic size cannonball.
but-
We are in a fantasy world where fantasy magic things happen. There is a clown that cuts himself apart and flies around all over the place.
But
you can have
throwing
things
a
be
cannonball.
fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. But still, throwing a cannonball like that is still fantastical.
It's still, that's true, but like there's so much fun in the exaggerated. There's so much emphasis in One Piece that there is something so true about it that I don't think will ever translate well to a live action series. And One Piece is probably one of the ones that in my history of anime would probably translate the least well to live action because of how much it adopts early animation. And you lose all of that here. Which I think was one of the big things that really got me interested in One Piece. Thinking about all the things that we've talked about over the course of the podcast history, it's something that some things, even in animation these days, miss and don't recollect on and don't draw history towards. But One Piece is very goofy. Its stylistic choices are very into the absurd, and that kind of lets the gravity of reality in situations feel more real. Because, hey, we're bringing you down to earth from something that is so fantastical. Here's the Robin, I want to live scene. Here's the, you are my Nakama moment. Here is, Luffy putting the hat on Nami. It all gets grounded for a moment and makes it feel more real because of the fantastic nature of everything. Everything here in live action. Exactly. In live action One Piece, everything is so much more intimate and quiet, and the cameras are really close, and everybody whispers their dialogue, and everything's really enclosed. All the fight scenes are in darkness instead of in broad daylight. The buggy fight is in a near pitch black tent, and I think a lot of these choices are because a lot of the CG stuff needs to be, it's easier to hide some stuff and some errors and things like that with a dark, shot scene.
It's easier to operate with a flat mat instead of a complex thing. And they spent a lot of money per episode, and live action costs way too much. That's
something that, and I'm going to criticize the anime industry for a second, as well as as Hollywood, real quick. Per episode for live action One Piece for Opla, it was basically $18 million per episode. $18 million per episode. To put that in context, all of Wano, that's nearly 200 episodes, by the way, cost $18 million to make. What that says to me is the $18 million to make Wano in Japan, that is woefully under budget, and you guys should be paying better. Meanwhile, the $18 million per episode for One Piece live action, I watch the show, I look at it, and I'm like, where did the money go? Because a lot of things just felt, it was okay. But
I think it went to the practicality.
And the thing is I definitely have issues with that too, because when are we going to see any of this ever again? Like, they're spending $18 million per episode. It's not going to get cheaper. It's going to get far more expensive. This is not a cheap show to make in live action. And with how Netflix is just like, we're going to cancel you and you and you constantly, my recommendation is do not get attached to this show. And if anything, really do use it as that springboard to actually get interested in One Piece. And I think that's the best thing I could say is, if you liked the first season of One Piece live action, for whatever it's worth, go watch the anime, because that will actually finish. Because you're definitely not going to get an end of this, because with the amount of time, effort, and money that goes into this, it is going to take 15 years, real life years, to get to Wano.
If they shoot it consistently.
If they shoot it consistently to get to Wano. 15 years from now to get to Wano. Okay? And that's being generous. And again, it's like we're talking $18 million an episode, and it's a lot of money and a lot of time. This show's not going to finish.
Sure.
I think it's something that we enjoy in the moment, and we're happy with the cool things that happen in it, but this is not going to end.
Sure. I agree with that. Al,
we are.
Yeah.
we did enjoy it, actually.
Yeah.
I question a lot of the things that they ended up cutting. And I feel like, again, this feels like, how do I put this? This feels like One Piece Game of Thrones, and I hated Game of Thrones. So that's where I stand on this whole thing. Is there's a lot of
they were doing real good right up till the end.
Well, the thing is even the good parts of, like, I hated it from season 1 because I just don't enjoy that, how things are shot or put together. The performances can be amazing, and the acting can be great, and the set design can be amazing, but ultimately it's the whole entirety of it that I end up not enjoying. And it's true that this just is not for me.
Kdin doesn't enjoy Netflix's whole.
My time breakdown for this, by the way, if you cut the intros and outros out of a couple episodes, basically, like, you watch the intro once per new intro for the first arc of One Piece, you're looking at about 12.2 hours of content, 732 minutes. One Piece live action from tip to tail, top to bottom, 7.5 hours, so closer to 8 hours ish, and I feel like you'll have a better time with the 12 hours you spend the extra couple hours on the anime, and you'll end up feeling more
I would even say
fed.
Watch the for an anniversary, I don't remember which one because One Piece has been on the air so goddamn long.
You don't say.
They did a TV special, the episode of East Blue, where it was like a Reader's Digest version of everybody's stories. That
I do remember you talking about this.
That is great as supplemental, and ultimately I don't mean to cut you off, and I'm not trying to wrap up or anything, just so you know. I am in the same boat with you in the sense that this is supplemental content. This isn't. This to me fills in the gaps of a lot of stuff and goes, okay, if this is an official piece of One Piece media and this over here is an official piece of One Piece media, and they're saying the same thing, or they're using this to say something different than was here, or to confirm this or confirm that. This to me is like this helps my spreadsheets. You know what I mean? And like with Molly mentioning, we're getting interactions that we never got, and we're getting certain events told in a way to make things a little bit clearer. Like, there's a lot that I think this does to supplement the main story more than it supplements its own story. But I think it's wild that they spent this much money to have so many people just play, but that's also kind of refreshing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Part of it is that I don't really trust a lot of this in longevity.
Sure, and you don't have to.
Is, like, taking a look at this is not sustainable. Like, this is like,
dude, Kdin, Netflix just spent $10 billion with a B.
I know.
$10 billion for WWE Raw for 10 years.
Yeah.
My God.
10 billion with a B dollars. That's insane. And the fact that they cancel stuff so rampantly is like, no, we got 10 billion laying around.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's very like, taking a look at this, it makes me nervous. Like, it makes me very apprehensive in a lot of things. There's definitely some really fun stuff on a lot of things. Like, I feel like the musical score is a really nice send up for a lot of things. What music they choose for different scenes is perfect, and it's great.
I think the theme does the job, but at the very end, when they play We Are orchestrally as they're sailing off,
yes,
I literally stood up and took a lap, like a victory lap. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. I got up, I threw my hands up in the air, and I was just like, yes, yes, yes. And that's one of those like that was a we did it, Joe, kind of a moment of like
my God.
People get to experience this. People get the similarly with like Al and I being to share it with our significant others. This is probably people's gateway to be like, hey, here's this thing that I've been obsessed with for like 30 years of my life, and I get to share it with you.
Remember all those times I tried to describe devil fruit to you and you looked at me funny? This is what that's about.
You know that clown that I have a statue of That's the guy.
You
right
know
there.
my husbando, Buggy the clown. But I think like some of this is just like there's definitely things that are like, okay, you know, the understanding that Oda signed off on a lot of this stuff. I'll be honest, the Sanji not being a pervert thing for me feels more like, well, we're making this for a different audience. We're not making this for the audience that I've been making this for a long time. We're making this for whatever American sensibilities, blah, blah, blah. So we can't do that. It doesn't necessarily feel like they're doing it because, oh, we want to make a course correction or a change here because, and this is me using my One Piece anime knowledge. If that was the choice, he would have done that with Sanji.
I agree with that.
He would have done that. So it doesn't feel like it's like, oh, I'm doing right by the blah, blah, blah. It just feels like, well, American people will get mad at me if I don't.
Sanji's going to be the final boss. Saying it now.
And I still do think Sanji's kind of like
Final boss is
a
toxic
grossy
masculinity.
kind of guy in this. And so they still get that across at the very least. And I think that that's fine. But my final thing is, in the idea of bringing an adaptation from an animated thing to live action, I really do not feel that One Piece live action accomplishes what it really set out to do. If it was trying to do a true to form like adaptation of something and really adding in its own like sense of things with this additive content and so on and so forth, I don't necessarily feel like if this was my introduction to One Piece, I'd be like, pass. I wouldn't care. I'd be like, no, I guess I won't watch the anime. That's, again, me speaking as somebody who does not like live action adaptations of things, and I generally do not favor live action movies plainly. I don't really watch live action shows. I don't really watch those things. I like animation. And a lot of what happens when you take something from animation and adapt it to live action is you lose something that I can only describe as cartooniness. The ability to be goofy, yet serious at the same time. Having the gravity of a situation while still being fantastical. And this world...
Disbelief.
Yeah, there's nothing really truly about One Piece live action that felt fantastical to me. It felt like every other live action show I've seen. And it's like, it's neat. But it's not for me. And that's really all I can say about it. And I hate that I did not enjoy this. I really, really wanted to enjoy this. I really, really did.
I'm really looking forward to when we make you watch season 2 for the show.
I will not. I'm going to put my flag down right now. I'm not watching it, and I'm super not watching it because I found out that they're not doing Chopper in CG. It's gonna be a freaking just like the Fishmen, and I don't like that. I don't like that.
Shout out to my furries.
Just a little guy.
It's just a little guy.
He's not going to be a little guy. He's going to be like 5 feet tall. That's not a little guy.
He's going to be a little guy in a
Little guys
suit, a
are
little
under
furry
5 feet
suit.
tall. No,
Maybe a
little
little
guys are
furry
under
suit guy.
5 feet
Furry
tall.
suit guy.
Shout out to Warwick Davis for probably getting the role.
I was going to say.
Danny DeVito as Chopper.
I'll take it.
Shut up.
One of my favorite things that I noticed that is a TV production thing that I don't know if I mentioned to y'all, but when we were watching the show, I said it out loud to Andrea. When we got to the map room, I went, "This is the same set. This is Baratier."
Yeah, I did notice that actually.
And I was like, "Oh, I love me some production stuff, but you couldn't make a square room. You had to be a big circle room with a divot in the center with enough room for, I don't know, 8 tables." That's just a funny like production, like, oh man, we built 3 pirate ships. We ran out of money. We have this building for the next 2 days. We have to shoot all of the Baratier stuff now, clear the set and empty it. Just put a table in the middle. That's fine.
Same hat though. The scene where Nami is trying to rob the Marines, that set is like one of the same sets for the Syrup Island. Like the two cellar sets are very obviously the same cellar sets.
So good.
Thinking about it, it's like most of the issues that Kdin you have with it are like live action apologizing for practical budgets not being what they used to be. I guess it's like a combination of
You absolutely hit the nail on the head. You hit the nail on the head, because my brain earlier this morning was just like, how was Alien and Aliens
Jurassic
able
Park.
to do all of those things with far less money back then, and you guys can't do it now? It feels like, and I'm gonna use a Marvel analogy here. Iron Man 1, Ironmonger talking to his lab assistant. Tony Stark built this in a cave with a box of scraps. It's like, figure it out. It's
But I mean,
like,
that said, Alien also used darkness all the time.
and yet somehow,
Dude in a suit.
the use of the way they did things, the way they understood lighting, the way they understood the color grading, it made it so it enhanced everything rather than throwing a frickin' orange filter over every frickin' scene. It makes everything just bleh. It looks like
also,
porridge.
as a quick aside, Mark, the map room, the Baratier, and also Buggy's tent, I believe, are all the same sets.
That would make sense to me.
Sad.
That would make sense to me.
They just redressed it.
The set designers deserve better. You deserve better.
Everything you guys said, 100%, but it's also like straight up time as well.
Yeah.
They're doing
Exactly.
they're doing less time shooting, less time editing to get it out faster compared to older stuff, which they maybe had like 3 years to get all together. Now it's like within a year and maybe a half, depending on what it is.
Yeah, the reason why I liked it and love it, and all the set decisions they had to make and how they ended up, like this is the same. There's probably some of the same teams of people that did the live action Cowboy Bebop, and they learned their lessons from that and made this. And I feel like they grew a lot. So like the fact that we got what we did, considering all of those restraints that they had, it's like I am happy with the work that they did here.
I think the people who worked behind the scenes absolutely busted ass and did everything they could to make something absolutely beautiful. And I commend them for it, and they should be paid better for it.
I think like everything Kdin said, just as like one thing, like I agree with, but at the same time, it's like, did anybody ask me if I wanted a live action? No. Did I want a live action? No. I would never want a live action of anything that already exists in a form of media that works for it. But the fact that we have a live action, did I enjoy this? Yes. Compared to other live actions I've seen, again, we keep tipping our hat to the freaking Dragon Ball Z movie, but it's also like the Bleach.
And Bebop.
The Bleach.
You
The
literally
Bleach.
can't count that.
Kdin, all right, Kdin. The Bleach show, the Cowboy Bebop show,
Rurouni
I talked about
Kenshin, Yu Yu Hakusho.
Hobbit,
Death Note, yeah.
Death
Percy Jackson, Death Note. Like again, I'm
Percy
looking
Jackson
at
was
you.
a book adapted. That's different than
I'm
animation
just saying,
too.
in terms of adaptions from one source of media to a live action, I agree. But I'm just saying, in terms of the live action adaptations I have seen before, the predecessor to this I greatly enjoyed, and from where we were to where we are now, greatly improved. Truly, if like you get people who care about the form of media working behind the scenes on the thing that they love, that's gone on for as long as One Piece does, like, it's not perfect. But I think the people who worked on this show can be proud of it.
I think I completely agree, and I hated this entirely.
I think the fact that like the Straw Hats, of course, knew what they were getting into. Some of them were familiar with the show and the manga and stuff like that. But then when you start to look at the side characters, the bit players, the whatever, just being like still showing up for work and putting in pretty great performances despite like and that's one of the things where performances can peek through bad material.
Agreed.
And that's where it's like a lot of my like were like, oh, it's because it's a live action adaptation, but I still I love Garp's performance. I love Molly.
Tell me I'm wrong.
What's great though is I have that in the background, and he's just kind of I just have one eye of Mihawk Peter Griffin with fingernails looking through on my notes, and it destroyed me. But like I think despite all of your stuff that I agree with as well, the performers put in the work and made it something to really enjoy. And if you want to talk about a scene, an episode, like a series of scenes to really like, Molly, excuse me for saying it like this, but sink your teeth in. Episode 7.
He's not sorry.
I'm not. Episode 7, Zeph, Garp, at Baratier was legit one of those things that nobody asked for, but was a wonderful. It was a. Well, I'm sorry. I didn't want to speak for Molly in saying that. I should say I didn't ask for it, but
Yeah. I didn't know to ask for it. I didn't know I needed it.
What a fun there are some scenes where you go, oh, this is for world building. This is just we need to get plot out. Go. But this did it in such a fun and dynamic way. And, you know, we know that Luffy is a part of the worst generation, this new generation of pirates that are hitting the seas. But I like how this teed that up and showed that the world is changing from what it was. And I don't know, two people that we already like at this point having this conversation. It wasn't tense like some scenes between like opposing factions can be. This was really fun. I really enjoyed this. Was like I would definitely say highlight of like new material. Phenomenal.
Well, and it's the embers of this constant conflict we have of the rest of the show and manga, where people are like, do you embrace giving the next generation like the opportunity to succeed, or you try and crush them so that you hold power longer? Like it's these two sides the entire time, and it's just different degrees of how into those sides these characters are.
Well, like my perspective on it, it's like I wonder a little bit if it's like Oda trying to retcon or like change up based on like where he is now in the manga of like, oh, maybe I should have had Garp more of an influence earlier on in some stuff, because
More of
like
an
Garp,
influencer.
but like Garp in this show, quiet Al, like Garp in this show is truly just Garp from Luffy's childhood. Like when you think about it in terms of like a timeline of like Garp like seeing the kids when they were like little, and then Luffy going out on his own to where we see Garp like showing up at Water 7, like Garp's reaction to Luffy at Water 7 is so nonplussed compared to like 2 arcs later of like watching one of his grandsons die in front of him and not being able to do anything about it based on the people who he sided with. Like it's again that like goofier concept of this, you know, this bit character that became grandpa or whatever. But in the show, I feel like right away you see like where his head is at in terms of this. It's just a different part of the story, basically. Because it is weird in terms of like timeline of like he really wants the boys to be Marines. He's not really active in their childhood. He's gone. Luffy sets out. Ace sets out. Luffy sets out. Sabo's gone, and then by the time we see Garp for the first time, Water 7, he's just kind of like, I'm gonna, rah, 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 and he's like, grandpa, and then it's like, haha, anyway, about your dad, and then Luffy's like, what's a dad? And then we go from that to everything happening in EBDB, Ines Lobby, and the Marineford stuff, and prison. And the next time we see Garp is Sengoku being like, Garp, your family's at it again. And then Garp's like, hilarious, pass the snacks, my dude. And then we go from that. We go from that to him transporting Ace and being like, why didn't you grow up the way I told you to grow up, boy? And like very hard sentimental stuff. And I feel like when we go from like, haha, pass the snacks, Luffy's in jail, that's hilarious, to you should have been better, boy. Like I always felt that was weird narratively.
Molly,
and so I really
you bring up
like,
something interesting.
I really like this. We'll get to that thing later because I'm in my zone. I got the go off queen from Mark. I'm in my zone.
Yeah, we
right now.
transitioned to Molly's segment.
Molly's
it's like-
in her chop zone.
So like all of this Garpness in this show, I love because we were finally seeing like what it was happening off screen, essentially, of like if Garp ever thought about his grandsons at all. And I love this scene with Zeph because it's like same thing with Zeph. It's like we get like a taste of him raising. Oh, hang on a second, Marco's going off. Go off, Marco. Go off.
We get a taste because
Go off, Queen.
they're at a restaurant.
So it's
God.
we get like a quick scene of like them together just so that we understand their dynamic, but it's like more than that, like we don't really see the parenting side of Zeph. Like, and even then it's like in the manga you see how Sanji is and you're like, listen, I'm sure it was trying for you, but like you could have tried a little harder. Like, I don't know if you're the best dad if this is the outcome of this demon child. But like I love this scene with the two of them because it's already so ridiculous. It's a scene I would write as a bit, and then they said they greenlighted it, and I'm like, I don't know what to do from here because I didn't think I'd get this far. But I love the like acknowledgement of Garp acknowledging Zeph as a pirate, which we never ever get. He's just a guy who apparently was pretty big. That like it's all hearsay and like from what we see, and it's like finally getting confirmation that like Garp's been around long enough and he does patrol this sea that he does know who this person is.
I mean, they were definitely active at the same time.
Yeah, and it's like I love that nod, like these two people talking together. And I posted it on our Discord, but I feel like the best way to sum up this scene of the two of them talking about Zeph being like somebody who just empty nested by telling his kid to go to college or get out there into the world, and the other side is a very controlling parent who doesn't want his kid to like leave or like doesn't want him to have, I guess, the freedom of choice in the regard of like what they want. And this post says, Zeph is over here like, I can't believe I'm going to have to seduce Vice Admiral Garp to cover for that little eggplant and his friends. And Garp is over here like, I can't believe I'm gonna have to seduce Redleg Zeph to get information on Luffy and his friends. Neither of them have to, but they're gonna. And I feel like that's this scene. It's like, it's Zeph distracting Garp with an incredibly nice bottle of wine and really good food and old like Glory Day stories. That's like all BS too. Like that's not canon at all. But he's like dropping references to islands we know about. Like I don't know. It was a scene for me, and I didn't know I needed it. And then when I had it, I like had to keep pausing because like my heart was stopping from pounding so fiercely.
Goodness gracious.
And I really enjoyed the episode with Zeph and Sanji's whole story. Like I felt a lot of the love there, especially knowing that like the actors are also mentee mentor and have been in like the last like 10 years. Like you get like a lot more of their connection in that. Like it was more believable than in the manga and the anime of when he leaves and he's like, Zeph, I owe you my life. And it's like, in this, like, I actually feel it. Like, I felt the connection. Like, he's hard on him, but he's hard on him because he's pushing him away. And it's also like, for an audience of people who've watched The Bear in the last couple of years, like, have like an idea of what it's like behind the scenes in a kitchen. So people are going to be tough with you. You know what I mean? So. It
is a yelly place.
Yeah. So, like, again, like, a lot of the Garp stuff in this show, I see Garp playing a more active role if they continue to do the live action of being him and Kobe on the side of like what's going on with the Marines. Like it'd be so easy to cut back and forth in the next one and be like, so Sengoku like start leading in what's going on with the other big powers at sea and like ramping up for seeing Aokiji and stuff like that. So Like, I'm fine with it. If we get more Garp, that's more cake for me.
And it's also, you have to be very specific in what's the cake part. But I mean,
I don't have to. I think the audience knows.
But
kind of speaks for himself. I didn't know that he had lifts in those Jordans that he was wearing, but goddamn.
I love the old man sneakers. It's so funny.
Good.
Him and his Skechers, yeah, him and his Skechers is so funny to me.
also,
I feel like,
Yeah.
go ahead, Al.
Molly, since both of these characters are real, do y'all text?
I wish. I keep telling you guys for my birthday that's coming up, just spend $300 so I can get both cameo
You keep
messages.
telling
Molly,
us
we
to
do
do
not
that,
have the
and then-
budget for this.
We
and
do,
then
though.
anytime we say bet, you're like, no, please don't.
I know how much money's in the PayPal. I know how much money. But then also, like, I'm shy.
There it is.
That being said, of like all the good things that I greatly enjoyed about this show, something that truly upset me that like I have no idea like what the thought behind it was. I was so pissed about the Makino. Like I did not like her in this show. She was
I
like
agree.
cold and like I'm like, this is supposed to be like Luffy's surrogate mom. Like she just like hated to be there, hated being around Shanks and his crew. It was like a weird portrayal. And then they still do the thing where they're like, oh wait, I guess she knows Luffy, so here's her looking in the newspaper. Like it's like that was off, and I hated that a million times. Hated that, and it's like somebody who really likes that cast of characters with Shanks's crew and that whole area. Like I was like really pissed about that. That was a misstep. I don't understand what the call was on that one.
More whoop slap, please.
Molly, I do think you bring up something interesting when it comes to the idea of like Zeph and Garp having a much more predominant role in this, and I think it says something to the demographic that they're trying to advertise to.
Molly.
That besides just Molly, yes, besides just Molly, but like the idea is that I don't know how many people who are in their late 30s, 40s, who have never interacted with anime, which is a very important caveat to the whole thing, who they're trying to get in with. It's like, well, watch this one. Watch this. It's a cool action and comedy, drama, fantasy, piratey, show. They're all swashbucklers and blah, blah, blah. It's like the draw in for something like that feels very different, like with like what you'd put in the focus. Like, case in point, Jeffrey Rush in Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, he is an older dude. He was definitely one of the big draws for that whole thing. Like,
he's so good in that.
and Davy Jones too. Like Davy Jones, another
he was
old
so good in
dude.
that.
It's like, so they're looking at that and they're looking at like what made those, like what got audiences there and what the characters were. It's like, hey, season 1 of this, we got like 0 old dudes who are like pirates or seafarers or anything like that. Who can we mix into this to get people who are not really fans of watching young upstarts go on an adventure and tell the government that they shouldn't do that? Well, let's grab some government people who will facilitate that role and definitely tie into the main character's story. So you throw Garp in there, and it really it blends the two things together a little bit. So it's like, okay, you don't have to necessarily care about the Straw Hat Pirates. Here's a nice little old man for you. Look at him. He's another one. We have 2 of them. Now they're eating together. What do you think about that?
It needs to be said that kids these days are way into the daddies and the zaddies. Like, they love Pedro Pascal, man. They are all over.
Well, that's
that
because
guy.
Pedro Pascal is cool. Like, he's
Sure,
just cool.
but also-
That's different. There's a different. I think
No,
there's a difference between just
there's a
old
whole-
people and
Wine,
Pedro Pascal.
steak.
No, there's a whole daddy fandom out there that like say daddy
Fandom.
when they shouldn't say daddy, and
Listen,
I feel like they're like, you
don't
know what, we know what
shame
we're
the
doing.
daddy issues people.
We know what we're doing. Having these 2 men have a candlelight dinner with really nice wine and steak. We know what we're doing. And they.
But
did.
I think
they did know
I
what
think
were
they
doing.
definitely knew that like they couldn't just have a show about a bunch of young people telling the government, no, big middle fingers, we hate you, you suck, because, well, in Hollywood that affects your budget, and 2, not a lot of people care about like young people stories. They want to see. It's like, well, okay, yeah, but I'm not 17 anymore. I'm not early 20s anymore. what would I be in this world if I were, say, 60 years old or 55 years old or late 40s or something like that. And then they gave you more things with like Shanks's crew and more of Buggy and more of Garp and more of, you know, all of these characters and more of Zeph and more of Mihawk to be just like, here's some old people so you don't think that this entire world is about a bunch of 17-year-olds. And it's not. So I think that that's a smart choice. And I think that makes sense to the demographic that they're eventually trying to grab and hook with this. And I think that's very smart as far as like a production style of things.
It's also like, I don't know if I've ever truly sat and thought about how literally Luffy and his crew are just going up against people older than them for like an incredibly long time, if not the whole time of the show.
That's life,
almost
Molly.
the whole
That's
time.
that's life, Molly. You're
really
always going up
funny.
against older people.
It's just funny that it's just like, we're the new kids on the block, and it's like, you guys are the worst. And it's like,
And-
no, you're just old, and then they
And
beat
then
them up.
the older generation names their generation the worst generation, and they're
Yes.
killing everything.
And I hate
they're
the music they
terrible.
listen to.
Oda, just say
Their toast
millennials.
has
Just say
avocado on it.
millennials. Just say millennials,
I
Oda.
think the closest in age is like Hody Jones and his gang, but that's not that close.
Well, I mean, in terms of like ages with Luffy's
Yeah.
crew, well, it's,
Yeah.
it's Law's crew, and
But they don't.
Kid's
But
crew.
they don't really clash though.
Yeah,
But I'm
because they're
just-
just like, hey,
Unless-
listen, we don't necessarily agree all the time, but
They're
also
parallel.
these Marines gotta go. So we collectively agree that these guys suck. So even if we don't like each other,
Slavery's
and even if we're not
bad,
gonna,
yo.
yeah, like the very obvious things of, yeah, that's evil, and the Marines are like, well, no, it's like, okay, look, I hate Luffy, and I hate Kid, and I hate this, and then Law's just gonna be like, but I'm gonna put my hands in my pockets, and I'm gonna be like, we're gonna be friends for 5 minutes so we can actually take care of something that we all know is absolutely evil. And I feel like you can't do that in live action One Piece. You need to establish that some of the Marines are good right away because, I don't know. People get mad when you say sometimes people in authority are bad, and you can't say that in movies. So you have to have a couple good ones in
Table
there.
that
Otherwise,
initiative.
see what I mean? Yeah, you get what you're picking up what I'm putting down. But I do think that it's like, as far as like the demographic that they're trying to market to, which is not necessarily One Piece fans, it makes sense. You need to have the more things there. I think that's definitely a smart narrative choice.
I also feel like in terms of, you know, the 30-year-olds playing high schoolers, like this cast and crew felt like closer in age than they normally, I feel like, would for casting, in terms of like, these are supposed to be 15 and 17 and 19-year-olds.
Yeah,
like,
the closest one is Iñaki. I think
Yeah.
everybody else is like
20s.
like 25 to 30. Like Emily Rudd is 30 years old.
Got it. But-
So like Iñaki is 20 years old. Everybody else is old,
A child.
much older, much older than him. So he's the closest one to, I believe, the true to character age, so to speak.
Wait a second. Are you telling me the teenagers in Greece weren't teenagers?
I'm telling you that the teenagers in everything are 70 years old.
What?
But Molly, I wanted to go back and talk about something very specific because now I remembered something that you brought up earlier. They're all supposed to be 16 and 17, right? That's the whole thing. Why does Buggy the Clown comment on Nami having a nice ass? Like, why is that something that's in the show?
I think because of the ages of the actual actors, they changed the ages.
Are you sure?
Yes, because the legal ages of consent are different in Japan than they are in America.
Okay, but that's also
so
this
it's-
is also an American-made show, though.
so
well, no.
it's-
So that means that they would have aged them up.
Luffy and Usopp are 17, Chopper's 15, Nami 18, Sanji Zoro 19. So, yeah. So if they
A
did
30-year-old commenting on a nice ass on an 18-year-old
Let's be
is
clear,
not
still
great.
gross.
It's very gross.
still
very
gross, but also
nasty.
legal.
Gross and
Very,
icky.
very gross, but also legal.
I was.
That's not
I
going to
just
hold
need-
up in court.
I needed
Shout
to
out to our
bring that.
Smash or Pass
needed
streams
to-
on twitch.tv.
I needed to bring that up because like it felt like they didn't do that at all except for that one thing, and I'm like, why did they do that? That felt so like out of left field. They had played
They're
it
just
pretty
making
Like a
close
him
to the
look
slimy
chest the
clown.
whole time.
Yeah.
making him be evil.
I guess
and-
that's fine, but like
Not only is he a bad clown, he objectifies women.
I definitely feel like Buggy the Clown went from, oh, he's a fail guy to you're gross in
Buggy
live
the
action.
Clown?
Like
Out of the
listen,
slot
I
breach
learned to
objects,
love
like
Buggy the
women,
Clown
man.
in the anime. I don't think I could ever love live action Buggy. He's an icky, awful man. Meanwhile, Buggy the Clown in freaking One Piece proper is just like,
Ariana Grande.
oh, I'm awful at everything and I'm terrible. But if I
I'm so bad.
if I get angry about it and I throw my little knives everywhere and I go,
think-
"Rah," then
I think
maybe people
truly
respect me.
it's still the Oda thing, though. I do think that like when we first meet Buggy in the manga, there are things that we're forgetting about. That's like, no, this guy is bad. But it's the way that Oda does it, where it's like, oh, they're quote unquote bad, but now that you know them better, you're like, I like this guy.
Oh, no,
And it's
he's
like,
an
again, it's
awful
like
person.
Eustace Kid.
He's an
like,
awful
Eustace Kid
person,
has
but I-
killed every island that they've ever interacted with.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a hero.
But like, I
Or
do
so
feel like when
we've
we
been told.
I mean, again, this is Kdin. This is the guy who destroyed the village with the dog, trying to save his owner's house that
Yeah,
died or
here-
whatever. He's not a good
We don't-
person to begin with.
Which we don't get to see in this.
We see
don't
the
get to
dog.
see
dog.
We don't get
Yeah.
to see the town at all.
And-
we get
and
to
the
see
mayor.
a
The
one
first time
part
I
of the
cried
town
at
for
One Piece
half of a
was that
second.
part.
oh.
We get to see the whole Buggy thing is filmed in two little boxes.
there wasn't enough. There
So
wasn't
weird.
enough with also the clown therapy. They had to choose. They had to choose that episode.
The
and they went
budget is
clown
for-
therapy.
The
They had
budget
the
is the
shoes.
They wanted
Oh,
the little meow meows. They wanted the what do the kids say? The your little
precious little meow meow.
No, what's the one, Kdin, that we use where it's
Blorbo?
like yeah.
Blorbos, yeah.
Blorbos, yeah. It's like they really had to get full Blorbo in this episode. There was no time for anything else but the Blorbo man.
I feel
Speaking
like
of, all right.
he definitely is more precious little meow meow though, because precious little meow meows are freaking messed up. Blorbos can be
Well-
nice.
This Buggy is a meow meow.
Yeah, he's definitely a meow meow.
This kitty's got claws.
All right, quiet you.
That's enough from the non-Tumblr crowd, okay?
We're talking about that for Buggy and not Kuro and his little kitties. Hey, we've been talking for 2 hours about the One Piece live action series, and now that we've gotten our like thoughts out and out into the world, like our audience has been asking for quite some time. I think we can say that if there's anything that we didn't talk about in this episode, catch us on a stream, twitch.tv/Yayo Talk Show. And if there's something that you want us to talk about more, we might.
I will say Kdin won't do it, but this is my
won't.
second time watching through, and I did like it a lot more than my first time.
Won't
My
do
first
it.
time was all pure reaction, and the second time I was like, no, I still really like this.
So if you want to hear more from us about One Piece live action, let us know. We're going to spend the time that they're working on season 2 figuring out who our fourth chair for that episode is going to be. So stay tuned for
and
that.
welcoming everybody, the guest for season 2's Yayo Talk Show Opla episode. It's Iñaki replacing.
It's Vincent. It's Vincent.
Yeah,
His
it'll be
eyes are so
Vincent.
blue. His eyes are so blue.
You know who it's gonna be? You know who's gonna replace me in that episode of Yayo Talk Show? Because I won't do it. Polly.
And
Oh
with
my
that,
God. Who are they gonna cast for Polly?
me. Hey, before we go, let's everybody talk about where they can find us online, on the interweb, across the nation, across the world. Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide. Hey, Kdin, can you tell the folks where they can find you on social media?
Yeah, you can find me on Tumblr, on Blue Sky, on Threads, on Instagram, on Twitch, and that's all Kdin Jensen. And you can find me on TikTok as Real Kdin Jensen or Kdin VT. I made a separate one for my VTuber stuff so that you can get the VTuber clips and then the voice acting stuff and other things from my main one. You can find me all over the place.
Hey, Al, how about you?
You can find me basically everywhere except for the one that got X'd out at Al McClellan Jr.
That's good.
ALMCCLELLANDJR. Good luck.
See, he's the funniest one of us. He really is.
He always
He's
will
so
be.
good.
He's really funny.
You can find me across the internets at Mark B. Donica. That's wherever Mark B. Donicas are sold. I've I recently got a new job, so I'm not super active on stuff these days, and it's kind of good for my mental health. So
Good for you. Man.
The shooting schedule for Polly's intense, guys.
yeah, it's pretty rough. Like I'm going to South Africa like daily. It's a hell of a
I'll
flight.
be honest, I'd cast you as Polly. I really would.
Hey, that means a lot. It really does, and I might cry. So before I do, hey Molly, how about you?
Don't look for me. Don't. I'm not anywhere, man. Not really.
Yo, what a vibe.
Tumblr.
Firstly, how dare you?
Molly K. Flood on Tumblr. I got a crochet Instagram account, but really, man, I'm handshakes with Mark. I've not been on social media in like a month, and it's kind of great. And it's
you know
hard
what
to
you
want to go back.
But
I
you know where
post-
you can find them? You can find them at twitch.tv/Yayo Talk Show doing streams with the rest of us.
You can also find us on Tumblr at Yayo Talk Show.
You
Where we
can.
post dumb memes and repost art. But until the next time we meet, dear friends, going along with how most Netflix live action adaptations end,
We're canceled.
we've been canceled. But now that you've listened to the episode, you've joined our grand fleet. With that comes the responsibility of telling your friends, leaving a comment, and following us all over Yayo Talk Show at Yayo Talk. What? All over social media at Yayo Talk Show. Y'all, I'm rusty. And letting Kdin, well, not watch this show, but read the manga in One Piece. So come aboard, and we'll see you next time on Yayo Talk Show.
Do you guys ever think about how Luffy could have just worn Crocs this whole show?
Did he not?
No, God,
No,
please don't.
they could have made money from a Croc deal, and he could have just been wearing Crocs.
Ooh, that feels good.
Did you see the merch for the show? The merch for the show is better than the damn show.
Yeah, the
No,
Garp
'cause-
snail.
Because you could buy the Garb Snail. That's the problem.
Forgetting about the Garp snail. I hate the Garp snail. I don't want to talk about the
Why
Garp
would you
snail anymore.
forget? I
Stop
can't
talking-
forget.
I literally
I see it when I
turned that
sleep.
part of my brain
Yeah.
off.
Whether
I
I like it or not.
The
I'm
Garp snail is
flushing it
staring
down
at you
the-
in the darkness at the edge of your peripheral vision at all times.
Right now.
Talking about One Piece.